why my voice sounds the way it sounds, but we are at step 76. So here we go. Now that you are updating the gold and health variables, you need to display those new values on the game screen. You have retrieved the health text and gold text elements in prior steps. So after your assignment lines, assign the inner text property of the gold text to be the variable gold. 7. What if the player doesn't have enough gold to buy health? Okay, perfect. This is actually a really good question. And honestly, I kind of want to write that down like right now, but I'll give it a second. Just because it's like, those are the questions I need to have when I am creating things. But I think for my free time, I like to make video games with it. But I'm starting to realize that the deeper I get into this, I don't think, like, I'm okay with making websites. I think I would definitely have fun, but I feel like my main passion comes from making video games. So I feel like I should probably go down the route, because I know it takes coding to make video games, but damn sure don't take this type of code. Maybe JavaScript could be used, but I think they use like something completely different, and that would be a whole nother route. So that's probably a whole nother thing I should be learning way down the line. Sorry, my dog barked, scared the hell out of me. An if. I don't even remember how to put an if. Do I just do it like this? Is greater than or equal to 10. I'm goated. And that's why I be preaching freeCodeCamp. freeCodeCamp is definitely goated. I understand that it is a bit more of hand-holding, but like I said, I feel like if you continuously build, you might not really remember the fundamentals, but when you keep doing something over and over and over, even though you may not understand how to build, it really does teach you deep down how to do it, if that makes sense. But you might not be able to do it on your own, but at least if someone tells you to write an if statement, you would know exactly to put the parameter, have this look like this, and then, you know, at that point you're going to be kind of lost, but that's okay, at least for the beginning. Alrighty. So now we are on to step 80. They want me to create a weapons variable above your locations array and to assign it an empty array. So that's very easy. If I can honestly just spell weapons, and then we're gonna go locations. I think I'm writing this. Oh wait, no, inside of an empty array. What the hell am I doing? Whoa. What are we doing? Oh, above the locations. I'm like, why am I writing locations? So it's also assign it an empty array, which is this. Put this here. Bam, that worked. Let me just write that note down very quickly. A weapons variable where I'm sure we're about to get into giving the weapons their actual price and that button working, being able to buy weapons. So just like your locations array, your weapons array will hold objects. So add 4 weapons array to each property, the name, each with 2 properties. So doing name power, the first should have name set to stick, and the power set to 5, the second should be dagger, and 30, the third claw hammer, and 50, the fourth sword, and 100. What the hell did they just tell me to do? I thought we were saying objects like power, stick, dagger, and sword, claw hammer, something like that, like stick, dagger, sword. Are those my objects, or are they literally asking me to add objects like this? I'm assuming though, because name isn't really working. Why? Oh, okay, I was gonna say, why is it crossed out? Okay, never mind. So we're gonna go name, and we're gonna do stick, nothing uppercased. And then I believe when we do power, power literally gets written like this. Power 50. The toasters, you're so cute. You are so cute. And add an if statement to check if the gold is greater than or equal to 30. So that's gonna be simple. We need a little bit, oops, how did I get down there? Honestly, like, and when I ask those questions, I'm dead serious, because it's like, I'm wondering, how did I get down there so I could do it again? You know what I'm saying? Because next time, if I want to make this quicker, how did I get there? But it's okay. So we're going for the if here. I don't know if I gotta space that or something. I don't know why there's a red line under it. I'm probably doing something wrong, I tell you that much. So statement, what does it say a condition? It says write a statement. So I'm wondering, do I write it in here? To check if gold is greater than. So gold is greater than or equal to 30. I feel like I'm supposed to write it in here. So I just ended up finishing the next episode to the RPG game that I was creating and recording through freeCodeCamp, which is pretty dope. I didn't finish the whole entire course, but I just finished the video. Hopefully I can probably make another one for tonight, because I do have a separate 2 videos that are more like sit down talk videos. So in between those, I like to always get a coding video in, because that is why a lot of y'all ended up subscribing. So as of right now, I want to show y'all something a little bit different, even though I did record a bit of me doing that in the beginning just because it's a bit of an intro. Hope y'all liked it. But in this video in particular, I wanted to show y'all my new way of actually learning how to code. And I think this is going to be detrimental, and I believe a lot of people should end up adding this into their routine if you are a new coder or a new web developer. If you're new to anything, software engineering, whatever you are possibly doing, I think you should definitely implement this. And this is a crazy idea. Now I'm going to go and tell y'all about this, but I will show y'all how to exactly do it, at least the way that I do it. And I think it's been such a big help, especially when it comes to understanding, remembering, and being able to use my own logic with JavaScript and not needing much help from ChatGPT or just Google web docs. But it's okay to get help, by the way. Remember that, because a lot of web devs that are currently even working, maybe even people in software engineering as well, they be using Google. So it's okay to get some help, but we also need to be working on that part as well for us to understand it a little bit and to be able to use our own knowledge. So for number one, I would say is that when you are trying to figure out a particular thing, let's say, because this is something I'm currently working on, let's say I'm trying to make a button, right? And I'm trying to make this button, and when I click it, it ends up adding a new task. Let's say I'm making a to-do list, right? Click the button, it adds a new task, but you're having difficulty with that button actually adding it as a task, not even creating the circle or the X yet. You're just trying to get this button to particularly add that task, and you're struggling. Now, number one, I would say, is to break down the question. You're going to need certain pieces of code that are going to do particular things that you are trying to get done. So break down the question into smaller pieces, which I will end up showing y'all right now. So this is the best example that I got because I'm currently creating this to-do list and creating a bunch of them so I can get used to understanding what type of functions need to be created. But let's say the big problem is that you want to have a button, or you already have a button, but you want this button for when you click it that it adds a new task, and that especially whatever you type in the text box, when you click that button, that will pop up as the new task, whatever you have typed. Now, to break that down into smaller questions and break that down into what you think you may need, though you may not need it all, but it will be easier to break it down in this certain way. And I feel like this would be such a great help for people who are trying to necessarily have a better habit or better habits when it comes to learning how to code. I feel like this will be super great for beginners who are trying to get into JavaScript to learn how to break down the problem and have great problem solving skills. So let's say so that is your big problem, right? The big problem is that you want a button. Every time, whenever you type something in this input box and you click that button, it pops up as a new task. Now you break that down. The first question you should ask, or would ask, or whatever order, it doesn't really matter. How do I get the user's input from the text box to pop up as a new task? Do you use the document.query selector? I think I said that right. I don't know. I don't know. Selector. Or can you use other things, right? You're trying to sit there and list out things that could possibly be used, though you may not use it all, but it makes sense for the usage of it. Do you use document.getElement by ID? Are you going to use an event? Or are you going to use a method? Are you going to do .value? Or are you going to do an event listener? Like, what are you going to do to mainly get that part? And like I said, though you may not use it all, it is definitely helpful to understand, and at least you would know, right, certain things that you should use. Second question would be like, so how do I detect when the button is actually clicked, right? And this is probably where you use the event listener, but these are the things that you would eventually write down, right? You're going to break that down. This is the second question. Now, what could you use to make that work? Should you put the script at the bottom of the HTML so that everything in the body works, right? Your third question could be, how do I create an element to show the task on the page, which would be, create an element, right? There is a literal JavaScript what is it called? A literal JavaScript thing. That's like the worst way to call it. But there's something, I don't understand. I forgot like the vocabulary of it, but there's a great element one that you could use, and you could literally create an element if you need to create a new LI, which more than likely you would if you're doing a to-do list. It is going to be from a ULLI, and so you're going to create a new LI every time that you click it. But now how do you add text to that new element? Where do you append it, right? Append child. Your fourth question, how do I make sure that the inputs end up clearing? And then you break that down even more. But I'm sure y'all ended up getting the point. But that is something that I think is truly going to be the most like efficient way for me to understand what I need to do with my JavaScript. Though, like I said, I'm currently at a place where I understand what I need to do. If I'm told to write a function, I can write it. If I'm told to write a for loop, I can write it. But when it comes to the logic in between that, I get a bit confused. I think that's something that could really help when you really break down the problem into different parts and even give yourself a little bit of help, because more than likely, because you know the fundamentals, you know exactly what needs to be written. Like, I know that an add event listener needs to be written for a click, and I know how to write that, but I wouldn't know, is there a particular thing I need to write in there, if you get what I'm saying, to make that work, which you would write click, and then, you know, you would write the function and put that in there. But let's say you didn't know that. That's where you get a little bit confused. And that's currently where I'm at, which I did understand that one. But normally when it comes to the other ones, I get a lot more confused. But a more efficient way as well, something that I like to call a guided project. And it doesn't need to be an actual project. You don't need to be guided completely, right? Do the parts that you understand. I'm actually very good with my HTML, my CSS so far, that I don't need too much help. Maybe sometimes for my CSS to get something to look a certain way, but I do pretty good. You saw my Netflix replica video. That was very much great. I did need some help with the, you know, the blending and stuff like that, because that was something I didn't really learn with CSS, but I did pretty good in actuality when it came down to that replica. And of course, I'm gonna do a bunch more replicas in the future. But yes, so I know I'm very confident with my HTML, my CSS. When I do a line by line guided, I never follow the HTML and CSS. I always make my own, and you can always tell because it looks brand new. Like it looks like it was made from like a noob, basically. Always, all the time. It never looks good. It just looks like a noob. But I think it's still cute. I mean, cool that I could create that. So I've never downplayed myself. I'm definitely hyped that I could do that. But no, yeah, so basically do the most that you could end up doing. And then where I struggle the most with is JavaScript. So what I would do is I'll follow a guided step-by-step, whether that is through YouTube to make my to-do list work, or I'll ask ChatGPT, because sometimes ChatGPT be goated, but most of the time though, they do end up having code that doesn't work, or if it does work, it's not industry standard. So thank God I have a community for that, because y'all can point it out, and then I'd be like, all right, check, don't ever do that again, but it worked, you know what I'm saying? But normally I go from either or MDM documentation just to see certain definitions for certain things, and it is definitely helpful. And what I'll do is about 5 times I will copy it over, and then the next couple of times I'll keep rebuilding it without needing help. So I'll keep, basically I just keep going until I feel like I don't need help, and then I'll do it another couple of times without the help, over and over and over, to get myself to remember. And even sometimes it's better to do it day after day after day, because you may just remember it because of memory, but you're not remembering it because it's, you know, the logic, you know? So it's best to really sit there and break it down, and that's something that I'm going to be doing this month exclusively, because I think I've learned enough of the JavaScript fundamentals. Now what I need to do is really understand how to get myself to do it, because I want the logic from it, if that makes sense. I hope some of those tips were helpful and y'all can implement them into your coding journey. If you guys have any tips that can definitely help me, let me know. Write them all down, because I'm telling y'all, I'm really like stoked to be on this learning journey, and I need some tips, especially tips for people who have a long and big schedule. I will be making a video on that if you're somebody who's working a full-time job and how you can implement studying. But you know, I'm also struggling a little bit too, so let me know. Do y'all have any tips whatsoever? That'll be a great video for me to put out. I could even put some of y'all tips in there if y'all give me some great ones. I'll probably put any of them in there, to be honest, if y'all end up commenting. So hope y'all ended up enjoying. Deuces.